Okay, hello and welcome. We are going to get started. My name is Ken Fanger, President of On-Technology Partners, and we're going to be talking about how you are able to work from home, give you some tips on ways you can be more productive at home and maybe a little less productive at home, and also go over how Office 365 can help you to engage with your team, be able to work better, smarter, more efficient, and stay engaged longer. So please make sure that you have muted your mics so we don't have a lot of background noise as we go forward. If you type into the chat any questions you have, I do have somebody monitoring the chat that will let me know. And I do like questions. We do like to make sure that we keep everybody engaged and informed, and we will stop at 1 o'clock on the dot, if not before. So let's get going. Thank you all for coming. Obviously, we're all here because of what's happened with the coronavirus. It has driven many of us to our homes. It has caused many of us to have to learn a new and different way to work, and also how to keep our teams, our associates, our employees engaged during this time. And that can be a challenge. If you haven't worked at home, suddenly having to work at home can be a very different environment. So the first thing I want to kind of talk about are some of the challenges when you're working from home. So the first challenge is, how do you share with people? When you're in the office, you were able to walk down the hall, give a document to a person, grab a little bit of their time. You don't have that now. They're not around you physically. It is very hard to do that. So we'll talk about how you can share and connect. How do you keep people engaged? In their house, they may have other things that are taking their attention. You might have other things in your house taking your attention. How do you engage those people during this time? And of course, you also have the problem, you may not be able to stay focused. What can you do to keep from being under-focused? But also one of the problems that people have been sharing is being over-focused, not being able to stop working all the time, feeling like all you're doing is working. We can talk about some of those things as well. And then, of course, we're going to talk about how to stay connected. How do you keep your team together? How do you make sure that they're all working in the same direction? How do you do those water cooler conversations where you just want to engage somebody very quickly? So before we get into the technical side of all of this, I just wanted to start by talking of some of the tips that I've learned. I've been working from home for almost 30 years. On-Technology Partner has always been a virtual company. We do have an office, but we almost never go into it. So we all work from home. And here are a couple of tips that I find to be very helpful. The first one is, even if you're working from home, have that place that's your workplace. You kind of go to it. I have this office here that I go to. I go in every day, I do my work, I do what I need, but when I leave it, I kind of am stepping away from the office. It gives a division in your mind, what is work and what is home. This is one that I find people are not doing as much as they should. We just gave a 2020 on how to protect your eyes because people have asked about that. One of the things you always want to do is you want to take breaks. You want to move away from that screen. You want to move away from that work pretty much at least once an hour. Every 45 minutes is what's recommended for your eyes. So you can keep yourself sane. Go do something else. Go get a quick drink of water or something stronger if you'd like. But keep yourself moving so that you are not just constantly 8 hours of trying to work. It'll be an overwhelming sensation. This is one when my children were younger was really hard. You need to make sure that both your children and your spouse know that when you're home and you're working, it is still working. It is not, oh, come do this with me, come do this with me, because they will not understand the difference between home and work, and it'll be harder for you. You'll feel guilty, you'll have all those things. So I had to have a sit down with my children, my two sons, when they were younger, and explain that I could not play games when I was working. I could not just turn around and sit with them. Now you can make it where you take a break, that maybe you do a 15-minute game with your children, and then you get back to work, breaking up your day. So you can mix these around. Also, I find if you make a plan for the day, what's going to make your day successful? I use the rule of 3 for this, which means that I make 3 things that I want to accomplish in that day. If I accomplish more, that's great. But I find if you, excuse me, if you make too long of a list, you'll always feel like you're never succeeding. You want to make sure you feel success. Also, try and set a specific time. I've made mine 6 o'clock. When 6 o'clock comes, you want to try and stop working, because otherwise work will never seem to go away. You'll have that sensation of always being at work, and then you'll feel sometimes like you just don't know how to get away from it, especially now when we cannot get out. When I normally work, the end of the day, I could go out, we could do a restaurant, we could go to a bar, we could go to a sporting event. None of that's available, so you really need to distinctly define your days. And this was a little trick that I learned. I will do laundry, so I'll put in laundry, and it takes about 45 minutes. So that'll give me a natural break as I run through the laundry for the day. So you might find things that can let you have that natural break as you go, so that you're able to deviate and differentiate your day. So I use laundry, I'll put the laundry in, I'll see how much work I can get done before the laundry goes off, and then I'll do that again. So those are some of my tips. If anybody else has any tips that they would want to share, that would be great. We love to learn from other people. We know we don't know everything. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to talk about how you can use Office 365 to address some of those issues that we had talked about at the beginning of the presentation. So there are 2 areas that we're going to focus in on today. We're not going to talk about email and email integration. That is something that Office 365 has, but we'll get that in another presentation. So the first thing we're talking about is how can you do file sharing between your team and with people outside of your team. Then we're going to talk about how you can collaborate. How do you be able to do those one-off meetings, those quick talks, those quick touches that you do during a day? Right now, we probably are not able to walk into the corner office and say, hey, Bob, I have a quick question. Or Mary, can you answer this for me? So how do you do that in a virtual way? We'll explain and show all of that to you as we go forward. So the first thing I want to talk about is OneDrive and SharePoint. They're similar. The big difference between OneDrive and SharePoint is OneDrive is where you keep your personal files. So it used to be called in the old time terms, your H drive or your personal drive. So you use OneDrive to keep all of your files together that you're working on. SharePoint is where you would put files that your whole group is working on together. And we'll show you how to set those up, how to work with those. And I'll tell you most of the Office 365 accounts come with this if you have it. So you probably already have OneDrive if you're using Office 365. And if you're not, please contact us and we can help get you set up. So the first thing is, how do you get to your OneDrive? All you need to do is type in office.com and then log into your Microsoft account. And then you're going to get, as you can see, all the different applications that are available to you. The one you want, you're just going to click on OneDrive, and then it's going to open up OneDrive for you. Now, I'm actually going to show you my OneDrive and how it works. So over here, let me show you again in real life. This is my, Office 365. You can see I have my presentation that I was working on down here. And here are all the different applications that I'm able to work with. And there's my OneDrive. When you click on it, it opens up your OneDrive. One of the wonderful things about OneDrive is that it can be synchronized across all of your devices. So I have my iPhone, I have my Windows tablet, I have my laptop, and I have my desktop, all with OneDrive on it. The same OneDrive, so I see all the same files. So if I need something, you can see here I've got my desktop for my laptop right there. How many of you have ever had this happen? I've had this happen. I save all my files on my desktop because I'm kind of bad that way. And all of a sudden something happens and the computer dies. Everything you had there is lost. But you can set it up so that you automatically synchronize your desktop to OneDrive, and then all of that gets saved. So I had that happen about 3 years ago. We've been using Microsoft for a while. I lost my computer, the hard drive crashed. I got a new computer, installed it, set it up, reattached to my desktop, all of my files came right back down. So it's instant way to make sure that you have all of your files backed up. The other thing that I was just talking to somebody about was they were actually in Hawaii and they needed to get a file for a client. And all they needed to do was they use their phone to log into their OneDrive. They're able to open up the file and then email it over to the client. So they were able to get what they needed immediately and instantly. So that is one of the great advantages of using this OneDrive is your files are available anywhere you need them, including, as you can see, this is where I logged in on the cloud. And this is where they are on my desktop. So there is the desktop file that I was talking about. I have my documents here. So lots of different files and folders that I can get to anywhere. So let's take, now that we're here, and talk a little bit about the different icons you have here. Because one of the really nice features is you get a terabyte of drive space with OneDrive, but you may have a situation where you have a small laptop or a small tablet that has a solid state drive with 100 gig. So you don't want to have all 1 terabyte of your files come down to that. You can go here and you can see these little icons. They show if they're local or if they're on the cloud only. So we have some pictures here. And so I have these eye strain pictures. And I'm just going to open this up. So this was a photo about how you can protect yourself from eye strain during this time. So I have it so that it is local on my computer. But maybe I don't want to have all of this space used up by this. I can just come up here and you'll see this free up. I can click on that and you'll notice that it moved up to the cloud. So it's no longer taking up space on my computer. And that way you can save a lot of space on your computer by making sure that you don't have files that don't need to be there. If you don't set it to always keep on this device, it'll automatically do this over time. So if you don't touch the files for, I think it's about a week and a half, they'll automatically just migrate up to the cloud so you don't waste space. But if you need to have certain files, you can go what I did, right click, go to always keep on this device, and then you'll notice that it makes it a solid green check instead of a white green check. That file will now be local for you to work with. So by doing this, you're able to make sure that you are controlling how much space you're using or wasting on your computer. If you have a lot of hard drive space, it doesn't matter. But if you have a limited amount of hard drive space, it's a great way to not waste it on files you don't need every day, but still have access to them as long as you have internet access. So that's one of the great things here. Now I want to show you is how you can use this system to share out documents. So we're going to go down here and I'm going to just click on this step by step. So here is a quick Word document on how to set up a virtual public meeting. So what I want to do is I want to be able to share this with a couple of my colleagues. So the first thing you do is you come over to these 3 ellipses and you click on it. And then you can click on share. And then it's going to give you several options. So the first thing I want you to realize is you want to see what this says. If it says anyone with this link can edit, that means that when you send this out, somebody could take what you send it off to somebody else, and they can get into this document. So if you need security, you need to make sure you look at how this is set up. Here are the different options. You can set it so that only people in your organization, only people that already have rights to that file. So if this was SharePoint, it would be people in the same type of group. Or you can give it to just specific people. So if you have somebody you want to open this, you can click on that, and then they would have to log in every time. If they don't have an Office account, what will happen is Microsoft will ask them to set up a Microsoft account so they log in. Similar to if you're doing Zoom meetings, they have to set up a Zoom account. It's the same thing. Then down here, you can go in and you can make it so they cannot edit it. So let's say you want somebody to just look at a document, but you don't want them to change it. And you can even block their ability to download it. Then you can come down and you can set an expiration. So I want you to look at this, but I'm only going to give you a week. So you cannot download it, you cannot edit it, and you only have a week to look at it before it locks out. And then if I want, I can set up a password, which using password as your password is always bad. But right there, now we have this set up. Anyone can view it, but it has a password. It cannot be downloaded or edited, and it has an expiration. So now, if I take this, I can type in somebody's email address. And then I can put in a little message to them and send it off. They will then get an email that says you have a document that you can read. They can click on the link and they can go in and work with that document. And the nice thing about this is you can do multi-editing in Word and Excel. So this is something we do a lot on Technology Partners. We're working on a presentation or a proposal. We'll get on and several of us will work together on the same document at the same time, being able to do real life edits and changes. And that lets us work together. So it isn't a situation where I make my changes, I save it, I send it over to you, you make your changes, you send it back. The other nice thing is we're all working in the same document, so you don't have different versions. I know when I was working with a major nonprofit, one of the problems I would have is they'd put together a grant proposal and they'd be sending it via email back and forth. And then somebody would take the wrong email version and submit the grant with the wrong version out of the email. And so they would never know what was the last version, and that would cause major problems. Okay, so now what I want to talk to you about is using history. I don't know about you, but I've done this. Let's say I opened up this document and then I completely changed it because I want to use it as a template. And then, so you see how this document looks? I come in here, just type in some stuff, and then I'm going to see it automatically saves. And I'm going to go back to OneDrive. So now if I go into this, it has my changes. The problem is I really didn't want those changes. Like I said, I created a new document. I'll do this sometimes with a proposal, and then I'll accidentally overwrite the original proposal. So I can go into here and I can go to this version history. And now you see I have two versions. So you see how this one is showing the new additions to it. If I deleted this whole thing, that would be gone. I can go to here, to this April, and I can restore it. So I can overwrite what's there, or I can open up the file. So you can see here when it comes up that we are able to go back. So as you make changes, the new additions that I put in there, and you can do a compare, you can restore. So this lets you be able to go through and look at the history of things you've made and the changes you've made in a document. So this is a great way to go out there and make sure that everything's working the way you expect it to work, is able to work together. If you make a mistake, if you accidentally overwrite a document, you can use this to recover it. So that's a real good use of the version history. So we'll close all that down. Okay. So now the question is, how do I get my OneDrive onto my devices? On a computer, on a Macintosh, on a PC, it is extremely easy. You literally just go over to this sync button and you push on sync, and then it'll automatically synchronize. On your phone, you would go to the App Store and you'd look up the OneDrive app. You'd download it, type in your username and password, and then it would automatically synchronize your OneDrive. So all of the ways to get to your OneDrive are very straightforward, very easy, and very simple. Okay. I don't know if there are any questions relative to OneDrive. If there are, please share. Otherwise, I'm going to move on. Again, as easy as clicking sync. We're actually going to show you how that works when we go into SharePoint in a little bit here. So the next thing we're going to do, the next part we're going to talk about is the Teams environment. This is where you can do collaboration. This is where you can do video conferencing. This is where you can do file sharing with your entire team or your entire company. So the first thing, we're back to office.com. You saw, again, all the different applications. This time you're going to click on Teams. There is a cloud version and there is an application version. The application version does have a little more functionality than the cloud, but you can use either one. We are going to talk about the application version today. So the main areas that we're going to talk about is the chat and how you can keep your team together through chat, the actual Teams environment, which is what you see here, and then your calendar for doing meetings and your one-off quick connections with that are kind of like the water cooler. So again, I'm going to bop over to our actual Teams windows here. And I'm going to first of all start talking about chat. So chat is a wonderful way to keep your teams together and a quick way to talk. So the nice thing is I have the Teams app on my phone, again on my tablet, on my desktop, on my laptop. So you can see very quickly, you can send a chat and contact people in a way that email doesn't necessarily do. So if you need to get in touch with somebody and just see what they're doing, if they need some help, if they're working on a project, you can do that very quickly. So I'm going to show you, we're going to make a new chat here. And all you need to do a chat is start to type the person's name. So you can build up a quick chat. And the nice thing is you can go in if you wanted to name your chat. You can spell. So right there, I do a real quick chat. I could send a chat to these people. We could start talking. So if you wanted a chat that was on a topic, you could do that. For example, you can see over here, we have our marketing sales meeting, but we also have an editor team. So we have a group of editors that put together a lot of our content. I can do quick chats with them through that editor team chat window. So it gives a great way to create these quick subgroup activities, keep in touch with your teams, interact quickly. So as you do these things, it becomes very helpful to make sure that you keep in touch. I'm not going to touch much, except for you can attach files and folders. And of course, you always have emojis because we wouldn't live if we didn't have emojis. And you can, so I could put into the chat Lucy and it would notify her. And again, one of the nice things about all of this is it's integrated with your email, it's integrated with all of the Office, so online, so you get notices from all different directions. So you don't have to be in Teams necessarily to know you got a text chat. Okay. So that's a quick review of how chat works. Now I want to talk about the actual Teams environment. This is where you can build a Teams group to work together on something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new team, and I'm going to show you some neat features in here. So what you do when you want to create a team, you go down here on the bottom left. It says join or create a team. So if your company does have teams, so we have a Team Allen team here that I could join. If it's a private group, which we'll talk about in a minute, I can put in the code and join the team. So we're going to go and we're going to build one from scratch. But if you had built pre-configured teams that you're using as templates, you could use create from, and it would replicate that team. So here are your three different options on your teams. You have organizational wide, which means when you create it, everybody in your company will be part of that team. So you see over here, we have on technology partners. That is an organizational wide. So when people get added to the company, they get added to that team. There is a public, which means you can ask to join, like this Team Allen you saw. So you can ask to join a public team. And then a private team is like we have our executive officers team that you have to be invited into or set up by the owner, who is the person who creates it. So we're going to do this. So that is our team that we're building, and it is a private team. You can put a description. And then you click on create. Now it's going to go out there. It's going to build a place for file sharing. It's going to build all these default sets for you. And then you can start adding people. So I'm going to add Lucy and Michael. I'm going to click on add. Now what's going to happen is they're going to get added, but they're also going to get email notifications that they've been added. And then I can go in. So now I'm going to promote Michael to an owner. The difference between an owner and a member is a member can go in, they can work on documents, they can do anything within the group. An owner can decide who can join the group or not join the group. So like right now, Michael could kick Lucy out, but Lucy could not kick Michael out. So you can keep adding people and expanding who's in your group depending on what you need. So now, by default, you get a chat window. So I can chat here and they will get this. So that just got sent off so that both of them can now see this. You also get a place for files. So this created a SharePoint folder for you. So what I'm going to do, if I can pull this off, is I'm going to go over to here. And you see this iStrain. So I'm going to copy this folder up to this file up to here. See, it's uploading. Watching. So now this iStrain picture is available to everybody in the group. They don't have to ask me for the file. I don't have to share the file. Anything that's here becomes available to them. Let me put this back up. Now I want you to see that under my On Technology Partners, I do not have the Great Wednesday group or whatever we call this, you Great Wednesday people. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the synchronize button. And then you're going to see how easy it is to connect a SharePoint file to your computer. So I just clicked on that and we're going to come back over here. And right there it is. And right there is that iStrain picture. So just like that, I was able to attach a folder. And the nice thing is I can have this attached, Michael could have this, and Lucy. So we could be working on documents and sharing things right here together at this point. And it only took that long to get it synchronized to my computer. So you can see the power that this comes with. So again, files are synchronized across, and they're only brought down when you are ready to work on them, unless you tell it to come down. Now, the next thing, I've never used a wiki, but it does give you a wiki, which is a way to communicate, which is a little more inclusive than a chat. It has conversations and stuff. So if you guys use that, that's great. I find I like to share this. So you can have more things that you can have in your team. And one of the ones that I have found as we've been doing these presentations, almost everybody has enjoyed, is this planner. So I'm going to add a planner to this group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this planner. This is a place where you can have tasks. So I'm going to save this, and you'll see it'll come up here. So we have Wednesday planning. So now I can put in a task. Talk with wonderful people. And I can assign this task to anybody that's on that team. So I'm going to assign it to me. I'm going to pick a date that I'm supposed to do this by. We'll have it by next Wednesday. I'm going to add the task. Now I can come in here. It's in the to-do bucket. I guess I should have showed you. The first thing you can do is you can come up here and change this. So this could be project 1. So you can name this project. You can have multiple projects that you have. And it immediately gives you kind of a very basic project management, task management system. And then you can come in here and change the status, but you can change the start date. So let's say I put this for yesterday, and it's assigned to me. So now what I have is I have this project task that I was supposed to start yesterday that's due on the 29th. I can actually add sub items, do this, do that, do more. And you can even have these show up here on the card. So like that, you can have a series of tasks that you can distribute out, and you can have groups of people that are assigned to them. You can have individuals. It gives you a way to track what needs to be done within projects within that group. So that, like I said, we find has been very valuable for a lot of people. We use it ourselves. And the nice thing is it'll send out emails, it'll send out contacts, it'll keep you up to date to make sure you're following through on your projects. You can change the views so you can see that's for a week. You can change it to a chart. I have one project left. How many projects do I have in each task? So it gives you a way to manage different tasks for that group. And again, this all comes as part of the Office 365 suite. So now let's talk about managing this group that you've created. So the first thing, let's say we want to edit it because we didn't like the name. Instead of you might want to say your great when, whoops, helps if I click it. Oops, right here, sorry. Your great Wednesday. And it's a private, again, you could change it. Anyone can join or the whole organization. And then we're going to say done because you great Wednesday people didn't make as much sense. You can also go in here and manage your team. So, you can have guests. So you have people outside your organization that could be part of a team. We don't want Lucy in there anymore. She's not doing as good a work as we had hoped. So we can just get her out of the group. We can add new members to the group as well. So the other major thing, you can also add channels. So if you have a larger group, you can have channels underneath that group. So you could add a channel and you can have private access, only specific members of the group. But then you can do, so you can add people. I'm going to skip this. It's only going to be me. So now you have another place for files, another chat. You can even add another planner. and you can do everything you want. You can keep adding channels to that. You can also hide it. If it's a group you still want to keep but don't want to work anymore, you can have hidden teams. And then the last thing that you want to be careful of is you can delete a team. You have to understand that it will delete everything. This is one of those places where we offer a backup solution. If you don't have one, I'd recommend you get it. But it will delete the library, it'll delete the chats, it'll delete all of it. So be careful if you click on that delete, because it will be gone. So that is the Teams environment. The next thing we'll talk about is how to use the video chat service and how you can take advantage of that, and then how you actually work within it. So in here, there are two ways to do a meeting. You can do a quick meet now. I have learned the hard way when we first started this that if I click on the meet now, it kicks me out of this meeting and tries to start another one. So we aren't going to do it, but this is what I call your water cooler meeting. Let's say Lucy and myself need to get a quick meeting, talk about some things. I could chat with her and say, hey, would you like to meet now? Click on meet now, invite her, and then we can have an instant meeting. So it is that quick and easy to do that. And the next one is you can schedule a meeting. You do have live events, which will let up to 10,000 people be an audience. We aren't going to go into that one today. And that's not on all office environments. You have to have a certain level to get it. But what we are going to talk about, this will let you get up to 250 attendees, which for most of us is probably enough. So you could go in and you can schedule a quick meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quick meeting. Ask Lucy to join me. We're going to make this for Friday at 1 p.m. And then we're going to click on send. Now she is going to get an email, but you notice that it shows up here. But what I wanted to also show you, if this works right, I'm going to come over here to my mailbox on Outlook, and I'm going to show you that it also is here. My Teams is synchronized with my Outlook. So my calendar is in both places. So if I was to make a new team meeting here, so another quick meeting, we're going to make Lucy join this one too. We're going to do this one for Thursday at 2:30. You notice there's the Teams link. There's a phone number you can call. You do have to pay for a conference calling plan if you want to be able to use the phone numbers. That does not come with the default. The default would be just the computer audio and video, but you can add phone number service for about $5 a month. I'm going to click on send here. So again, now you see it shows another quick meeting shows up here. And if I come back into here, it will show up. It sometimes takes a few minutes, but it will synchronize across all of these. There it goes. So you see now it's right there. So everything stays synchronized. That's one of the great advantages of Office 365 is you don't have to worry about keeping your email calendar and your meetings calendar. They do it all together for you. So now what I want to do is I want to go in and actually look at the actual Teams environment and what you can do with it and how it works. So one of the first two things you always want to make sure you know is how do you turn on and off your camera and on and off your audio. So if you're in a meeting and you don't want your face on screen, you can just click on this and you will go away. Click on it again and you come back. So if you're having one of those bad hair days, you can use this to hide it. You can mute. I usually suggest people do that when they come into a meeting. Stop the dog barking issue, the people doing work in your house, all of that stuff. The next thing over is you can share your desktop. You're also able to give control. So if you're both working on something and we do this as a support situation, I will do a Teams meeting and I'll ask the person to give me control of their desktop so that we can work on an issue together. Then over here, you have more actions, more options that you're able to use. You're able to change which audio and visual devices. So if you have 2 cameras, if you have an external microphone, you're able to do that. This is a neat one. They just enhanced this last week. This used to say blur your background. Now you get background effects. So let's go and look at some of these background effects. And these are very helpful. If you notice right behind me here, I have my Dino Bunny who's going to help us do these demonstrations. So I don't want you to see Dino Bunny. So I'm going to click on this first one, which is blur. Then I'm going to click on apply. So now I still have what's behind me, but it's blurry. So if I did have the world's most valuable idea up on my board behind me, it wouldn't be broadcast out to the world. For all of you that are wondering, I do not. But in the last week, so the last time I did this, I was kind of surprised that I had extra pictures. So let's say you want to make a prettier house than you have today. Well, there's my office, let's say. Now this is my wonderful house. So it looks like I have a really nice house. Don't, but you know, that's how it works. So you can even go in, I'm not going to show you how to do it, but you could add your own pictures to this. So if you want to get really freaky, you can apply really bizarre backgrounds. Depends on how open-minded your teams are. If they like to have fun with certain things, you can do all of that. Maybe go out into space for a little while. So I'm going to go back to not being blurry, but you can see how much value that can have. It also protects against things like where a person accidentally walks in out of the shower, which happened to apparently one of the national broadcasters when she was doing broadcasting from her kitchen and her husband came out. So it does happen sometimes. Okay. So the next icon over, so you also can record in here. You can also turn on live captioning and it will try to capture the words that you're speaking and put them down along the bottom. It works very similar to what Siri does when it does the word capturing. It's not perfect, but if you do need people to be able to read it, it gives you a way to do that. Also, you can have your side chats. You see when Cody joined us. So this is a great way to be able to have a little quick side chat, talk about things, and share as you're doing the meeting. And this last thing, which is very helpful, is being able to manage the attendees. So I could mute all. You can see each of these people are muted. You can remove their participant. You can make them an attendee. So you can go in there and manage each of the individual people, or you can ask all of them to go mute. So if you're having a presentation and you hear a lot of noise, you can mute everybody very quickly. The other thing, you can also invite people right here. And if they're in your contacts, you can send a quick invite out to have them join your meeting. Lucy's already in, so if I clicked on this, it would try and call Shanti to join the meeting. So if you have some people and you're waiting for another person, you can click on that and add them to your meeting. I don't want to have Shanti do that. She'll think I'm probably trying to get her to do some work today. Let's talk a few minutes about the recording. It's really nice. It gets automatically recorded to Microsoft Cloud, and then you can download it later. So I know some of the other services like Zoom, you have to record it to your local computer or you have to pay for that service. This comes included, so that's really nice. One of the other nice things is I know Microsoft is going to be expanding the number of people that can show up on a screen. I think it's going to be going to 9 in the next release, which should be coming out in the next couple of weeks, which means one of these presentations I'm going to see more images. But you can go in here and you can pin a person so that the rest of the people are along the bottom, and that person will stay in the middle of your screen. So that's a quick way if you want to make somebody be top. Oh, hey there, Michael has decided to join us. So if I pin him, now he is the main part of my screen, because how it works is whoever talks will usually get precedence. This will hold Michael no matter who is talking on the other side. And then he has this really nice white house behind him. So thank you. I'm going to unpin you now. So that was a quick overview of how you can use Teams. I'm now going to open it up to any questions. You can unmute yourself if you'd like, or you can type it in the chat window. We'll keep the chat window open. Actually, wait, I'm sorry. We do have to finish. I always forget this. We have to finish the PowerPoint presentation. So give me 1 second, because there are a few other things that I want to talk about. There is a version of Teams you can get for free for 6 months. The lowest entry point is $5 a user. So if you can do it, I'd recommend you get the $5 user version. There's a lot more power in it. But if you just want to be able to do quick meetings with your team, we can talk to you about the free team. You cannot schedule a meeting. You cannot invite up people outside of your group. All you can do is have meetings within your team. You don't have any of the file sharing functionality. Also, oops, I forgot to update that. It's obviously not April 15th, but we are going to continue to do these trainings. It'll be next Wednesday. We'll do this again. You're always welcome to come back as many times as you like, or hopefully you'll tell other people how these trainings were and that they can come and join us. If you'd like private training, we do private training on Teams and other Office applications. We can help you out with that. Just reach out to info@ontechpartners or give us a call. We also have been offering a smart VPN, which will allow you to get into a small business from remote locations. And it's a great way right now to be able to get into the office for files if you aren't able to get in there physically. Just again, reach out to us if you're interested. I always share this. It's important to remember that don't put anything on your screen you don't want somebody to see. I'm sure we've all seen those things where somebody was showing their websites and one of the tabs had something really inappropriate. So be careful what you put out there. Be careful what you have on camera. If you have a child running around naked, you may not want them to become instant internet celebrities. So be careful what you share. Share only what you want. And one of the other things, always have fun. We've started doing Dino Bunnies Journeys. It's just a fun way to kind of get out of being trapped in these four walls. Make sure you're doing stuff fun. Far more important than you can imagine. Okay, now I'm going to open it up to questions. Michael, actually, he's a teacher, and he is trying to think of the easiest way. And I know that you've actually worked with, you have a school that you work with. So how would you like to take that question?
Yeah, okay, so you can basically, just like you do in Outlook, you can get a link to the actual Teams meeting. So there's two different things here. You could type in or unmute and let us know. But if your students are also in your team, then the stuff that Ken showed, where you start a meeting and you type in all their names, they'll get the invitation. So that's the straightforward method. If an example, like you join this meeting as a guest. So there's two things. If you just need the link where a guest can come into a meeting, that you can get. Ken, maybe you can pull up the the calendar in Teams and show the link and how you get it. But you do have to enable guest access in your Office 365 in the Teams administration. So it's not on by default. You would have to go into your Teams administration and say, you're allowing guest access to your Teams meetings. But once you do that, you can share the link. And there's two ways to get it. You can get it in Outlook in the calendar, or you can get it in Teams in the calendar.
So let's go into this one.
So this is in Outlook. He's pulling open the event, and then you see a link at the bottom that says Join Microsoft Teams Meeting. So that is a link, and you can just copy the hyperlink, and you can email that out manually to anyone. When they click it, they'll go in just like you joined this meeting. And that same link is available through Teams if you started it in Teams, which is typically what you're going to do to start a Teams meeting. But yeah, that's how you can share out that link. Does that make sense?
Did that answer that question?
Okay. Yeah, make sure you go into Teams admin and you turn on allow guest accessing your meetings, and then I would suggest that you also, if you allow guests in, that you turn on the waiting room feature, which puts guests, you have to approve them in one by one in case the link gets out to someone else or someone randomly gets your link. You don't get people joining your meeting automatically, so you have to admit them. Those settings are in your Team Admin Center as well, so you see all those.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody coming. Well, so if you set up a meeting, like Michael is the one that set up this meeting, but I actually go in and start it. So as long as they're, and Michael, you can correct me if I'm making a mistake, as long as they're on your team, they're able to start the meeting. So you don't have to be the person who starts the meeting.
That's correct, Ken. So in this case, I organized this meeting. I put on there that Ken was going to be a part of the meeting, or that in the to field, I put Ken and anyone else from our team. The people that are in our team can go ahead and start the meeting. I would have never had to join. And the guests, kind of from the other question, guests would then be able to join and access as well, regardless of whether the actual organizer, but you do have to have someone on the team.
Yes. No, we're glad to help here. That's what this is all about. Any other questions? Well, I want to thank everybody. We are going to be sending out a survey in the next couple of days to ask how good of a job that I've done in my team. And again, if you'd like to revisit this, we will do it again next week. And if you know anybody else, especially teachers, we want to help teachers right now. If they need any help with how to use Teams, have them reach in and join us. And like I said, Michael has been helping schools with team deployments, so we can answer some of the questions you might have. I want to thank everybody and enjoy and have a safe week.